Hello. I've been feeling called to share about intuition, how we receive the wisdom, and how you might be able to connect with your loved ones. At this time, where I'm recording and when I'm posting, it feels, based on my own experience and connecting with my loved ones and guides, it feels like our guides and loved ones in spirit are really close right now. It feels like many of us here are recognizing and waking up to our spiritual abilities and gifts. And in turn, that causes those in spirit to draw closer because they're realizing that we are in a place of connecting. The truth is that your loved ones in spirit have probably been trying to connect with you for a while. And you may have known that. You may have tried to rationalize it, thinking like, oh, it must be something that I'm imagining, or, it just happened in my dreams, so it didn't really happen. All of your experiences are true. All that you are is true. We all have intuition. It is a part of being human. It is a part of having a soul. We are connected with this planet Earth, yes. We are also connected to our spiritual selves. So whether you connect with an organized religion or you are just spiritual and you're exploring spirituality in different ways, you are intuitive. And how that comes through might be different based on who you are. So let's just start with a basic foundational definition of what intuition is. Intuition is the wisdom that is within us. It is the wisdom that we receive from the divine, higher power, God, whatever word you wish to use. And that is the knowledge that comes through without rationale, right? So we don't understand where it comes from. We don't know why sometimes we're receiving it, but we just know that it is truth. And then sometimes our mind comes in and tries to tell us that it's not true. So all that I share is my own experience, the knowledge that I have learned and gained over time. So if there are things that you are hearing from me that don't resonate with you, that's fine. You can receive what feels like it's resonating with who you are, and you can let go what does not align with you. No judgment, no shame. So intuition. We can receive our intuition in many different ways. Probably one of the most common ways that we receive intuition is known as clairsentience. So clair means clear. Sentience is feeling. So when you have a gut feeling on something, or you just have a feeling something's going to happen, maybe you are meeting someone for the first time and just being in their presence, you feel there's something that you either connect with, or maybe there's something you're picking up on that it just feels off, like something feels different, or I don't want to say different, but something just feels off about this person. And it's just a feeling that you have. There's no knowing. They haven't told you anything that makes you assume this. It is a clear feeling that you receive that something is off. Now, intuition, right? It's not good or bad. It is just knowledge. So yeah, sometimes our intuition gives us a hit on something unexpected or something that we perceive as negative. Complete opposite, right? I don't like to say good or bad, positive or negative, but you could have a feeling that whatever the situation it is that you're in, it just feels like this is where you're meant to be. That's clairsentience. Claircognizance is clear knowing. So that might happen when you just receive, I like to call it a download. Like it feels like you're literally receiving new information. You don't know where it comes from, but it's there. I often experience this when I am talking with people in conversation. I'll just receive clear knowings about, something that they might be experiencing at the time. When I'm talking or talking with one another about the way of the world, a lot of my knowledge about the world comes in through claircognizance. It's just knowledge that I receive that I know is true. And in that moment, I feel called to share it. Or maybe I don't. Claircognizance, clear knowing. Clairvoyance is clear sight. So maybe you see a vision. You experience a premonition through the vision. And this can be with your two eyes. This can also be with your third eye. Coming back to yoga, Ajna chakra, which is your third eye energy center. And Ajna chakra is the center of intuition. It is our center of imagination, of being able to control and focus the mind. All that which is connected with spirit and how we connect with spirit. So scientifically, right, we are using the same side of our brain to access this intuition, as well as it's the same side of the brain that we're accessing our imagination. So that's why sometimes it can be tricky for our rational mind to accept what we're receiving, because our rational mind comes in and tries to explain what's going on. Clairvoyance, clear sight. Clairaudience is clear hearing. So maybe it is when you hear a song and there's nothing playing in this dimension. Maybe you hear a voice or you hear a sound. And again, it's not a voice that is in this world with you or this space. It is a voice that is in another frequency that you're picking up on. This has actually been a gift that I have started to come into and become more aware of. So I have always experienced clairaudience. I just didn't know it. But that shows up as physically reading people's minds, because I can hear their voice, or I can hear my own voice speaking the thoughts that that person is thinking. So when you are thinking about someone and then they give you a call or they send you a text, right? There's your intuition connecting with one another. You're reaching out to one another in a different frequency. And in that frequency, you connected. Whether you're aware of it or not, right? You probably chalked it up to coincidence, like, oh, wow, that's so funny. I was just thinking about you, or vice versa. It's not a coincidence. Y'all were connecting. Clairalience, I believe is how you pronounce it, is clear smelling. So being able to pick up on a smell, coming back to our loved ones in spirit. If there is a smell that you connected with, say it's a perfume, or maybe the smell of, your grandmother's house, or the cookies she bakes, or whatever it is, and that smell just starts to come in when no one's baking, no one has perfume on that was your grandmother's or whatever. That's clairalience. It's a very cool gift. I've had quite a few experiences with clairalience, and in the moment, I didn't know that that was what was happening, right? Because I wasn't aware of that. Clairgustance, clear taste. So being able to taste food without, you're not actually eating food, you can taste it. I have not experienced this yet, but reading from, I like to go on Reddit to read and learn about people's experiences. Some people have shared that they will, they'll get a taste or a craving for food, and then, sometime in the future, later on that day, that food just kind of manifests. Like it comes in, whether they're out to eat and it's there. They're not actively seeking for it, or, going to the grocery store and buying it. It just happens to come into their path. Someone else that I read, their experience was, they were working with children, and they started to get this taste of like peanut butter milkshake. And the child they were speaking with was thinking about a peanut butter milkshake. And so that connection, like that, the child's thought or what they were thinking about manifested as that person being actually able to taste the milkshake. Pretty wild, right? And something that you can't rationally explain. I've also read that, I don't know the name of it, but you can receive knowledge or messages from touching objects. Everything is energy, right? So an object, maybe that was an antique, right? You might be able to pick it up and feel how old it is. Some people who are really in tune with this might actually be able to pick up on who owned the object. Again, this is something that I have experienced in moments. Like I can feel how old something is, or I can feel that it's been, touched by many people, or not touched by many people. But I have not, honed in that ability to really tune into what I'm feeling. So those are some ways that you can experience your intuition. And maybe there's more. These are just what I'm aware of. So if there's something that you've experienced, please share that is different from what I've talked about. And something to be aware of is, like I said earlier, we all have these gifts. Some of us may be more open to these gifts. Some of us may naturally just be more in that side of the brain. I believe it's the right side. Your more intuitive, imaginative, creative side. So it might be a little bit easier for you to access your abilities. For those of you who lean more into the rational mind, logical thinking, science-based, really love to learn about facts and knowing things, it might be a little bit trickier for you to access these gifts because your mind is just so used to explaining and rationalizing and needing to know the concrete answer. But with intuition, we do have to surrender to the unknown. And that can be very challenging. We all have this ability, and we all have the ability to strengthen our gifts. So as I've said, there are some abilities that are just innate within me. I've always felt really strongly. I've always been able to, like I said, been able to experience clear hearing, just not been aware of it. Something that I have been actively working on is strengthening my clairvoyancy, because it's challenging for me to visualize or see with my eyes or my third eye. I usually feel into things, right? So it's more my energy field that is bringing me into the space rather than paying attention to the colors around me, the details of the objects around me. I get the feel of where I'm at. So it's been interesting to play around with how I can shift and strengthen my clairvoyant abilities. Now, coming back to how we connect with our loved ones. So, again, we don't completely know. But what we know, if you have faith, and if you truly choose to believe this, is that when our bodies die on this planet, it is an ending, and it's also a beginning. Our soul is immortal, right? Almost all of the organized religions, the philosophies that I know of, say that this is true, that our souls are timeless, and that we, even though our bodies, even though our minds die at some point, our souls continue to live on. And our souls, the essence of our soul, is energy. So once our body is gone, right, that energy is released. And, depending on who you listen to, mediums, people who are really in tune and connected with spirit, they will tell you that we journey, we learn to evolve from, our experiences when we lived in this life. We look at the choices that we made, maybe how we affected the beings around us, recognizing, where our own patterns or wounds held us back from growth in this life. And so there's more freedom, right? When you are a soul and just a soul, you're not suffering because you have the space to expand, right? You have the space to see the whole picture for what it is. And again, this is just from what I feel and what my guides have shared with me. This might not be for everyone, and that's okay. But from what I feel from especially my loved ones who have crossed over, who many of them suffered in all kinds of ways while they were here on this earth in their bodies. While I know that they are still who I knew, they feel different. My grandmother, who I was very close with growing up, she was, the traditional Italian grandmother who needed to know everything, was extremely resistant to people helping her, extremely resistant to really anything that did not align with what she believed in or agreed with. She was devoutly Roman Catholic, so that was the way to go, and that was the only way for her. And now that she has had the ability to grow and see her life in a bigger way, I truly feel that she has opened her heart to accepting. And yeah, again, she's still my grandmother. I feel sometimes she's telling me to do things. It's very hard for me to say no to my grandmother. So we'll like be in conversation, and I'll be like, I don't know if like this is what I need to be doing at this time. But me personally, I'm very trusting of what I'm receiving. So I usually do go with what my grandmother's saying, because I just know that she knows. And I know that regardless of what happens with the choice that I make, I'm going to be okay and I'm going to be supported. That's a whole other thing that you can choose to do the work if you're feeling that. But when you start to really connect with your loved ones, give yourself space to sit with them. This doesn't just happen. You might absolutely receive signs, like maybe an animal comes in and you just know that it's a message from your loved one. But in order to really feel and know your loved ones in spirit, you have to sit with them. It's like with any relationship. Yes, your relationship with them, in a way, has ended. But it's not over. It doesn't stop just because they have died. That relationship is still there. And both of you have to put the work in to allow that relationship to grow. They're doing the work by letting you know that they're there. You have to do the work by recognizing that it's them and being able to recognize who it is. So when I first started to connect with spirit, connect with my loved ones, I had the ability to give myself space. Like I would have a couple of hours where I was able to set up my space for meditation, close my eyes and get comfortable. Let the thoughts go, because that's naturally what's going to happen, especially if you're not used to it, is those thoughts are going to come in, right? Trying to rationalize what you're doing. Which is why meditation is a beautiful opportunity to strengthen your mental focus, and to differentiate between what your rational mind is and what your intuitive mind is. People ask me, how can you tell? How do you know that it is your intuition? What if it's just your mind, making it up? Or what if it's just your mind telling you to do this thing? And something that I've learned is, just like with our spiritual gifts, right? Clairaudience, clear hearing, clairvoyance, clear sight. Intuition is clear. It is calm, and it is persistent if you choose not to follow it. The rational mind, for me at least, is fast. It's almost light, like it's kind of floaty. And it feels almost anxiety-induced. It's panicky. My intuition is grounded, right? There's weight to it. I can feel it. And it is a clear knowing that just comes through and through. It might be quiet at first, but it's still clear and it's still grounded. So that might be something that you just start to play with. When something comes in, be like, is this my mind? Or does this feel grounded like intuition? You can even play and explore with experiences that you've had in the past. Like, give yourself space to reflect and think about the sensations you felt in your body, maybe thoughts that you remember, any sounds, any colors, right? Anything that you can pay attention to and help you focus on if that was your intuition speaking. It takes practice. And it's important, if you want to really focus on dedicating yourself to strengthening your intuition. Like with all things, you have to put the effort in. So, all the things. I intend to post a video that will help you to connect with your loved ones in spirit. Something that I often experience when my loved ones come in is, depending on my loved one, I will feel an expansion in my heart. I will feel my love for them so strongly that it brings me to tears. I talked in the beginning of the video about, experiencing intuition in your dreams. And I've had quite a few of my guides and loved ones visit me in my dream state. And I know it's true because even in my dream state, I start to cry. So just continue to pay attention to what you're experiencing in your body, what you're feeling within, and that will help you to open up more to your intuition. Give yourself space to get quiet. And maybe that means, bringing in tools. So dowsing rods, maybe tarot cards or oracle cards. This wisdom, this ability to retrieve and understand that wisdom is from you. It is so important to recognize that. It always comes from you. The tools that you might choose to work with will just help you to explore how you connect with your intuition, how you connect with spirit. I'll share just a quick little story about one of my guides and how I connected with her. So this person I knew when I was first working at the library. I loved her. I admired her. I loved how she, how she was with children. She always let herself be silly. And she expected a lot. Like, she had high expectations for the people she cared deeply about, because that love propelled her to want the best out of her loved ones. And so she died back in 2015. And at that time, I was very closed off. I was very intuitive. I've always been intuitive, but I did not trust or listen to my intuition because I didn't know what it was. And I was very lost and very scared at that time. So I knew where she ended up being buried. And it turns out that cemetery is right down the road from where I live now. So my husband and I went for a walk a couple of years ago. And in the past, I've been able to kind of use my body as a dowsing rod. I love to explore cemeteries and connect with spirit and all the spirits. So I will use my body sometimes to be guided which direction I'm going and what have you. So I tried to do that to find my friend. And I couldn't do it. Like I was trying really hard. I kept walking in certain ways, but then I would stop. And this quiet voice that was there when I first started walking, this quiet voice came in and said, I think Chris would want you to use the dowsing rods. And I ignored it. I was like, you know what? No, I've done this before. I know how to connect with people, how to connect with spirit, with my body. Like, I've got this. And as I kept walking, that voice got louder and was like, no, I really think she wants to try these out. So it got to the point where I gave up. I couldn't find her. And I said, okay, I'll come back another day and I will bring the dowsing rods and we'll see what happens. So sure enough, maybe a week or two later, we go back to the cemetery. I get my dowsing rods out, and I don't know if you've ever heard of dowsing rods, whatever, but they are, you can hold them, and they're like usually a copper rod. People use them sometimes to find water in the ground. But you can, the more that you work with them, they can answer questions. So maybe yes, maybe no. They can also guide you to where you're going, which was my intention for trying to find my friend. So I had the dowsing rods in my hand. I sent the intention in to look for Chris. I reached out to her and said, you know, if you want me to find you, here we are with the dowsing rods. Let's play. As soon as I finished asking her, the dowsing rods pointed. And so I started to walk and follow the dowsing rods. Now, my rational mind often comes in when I'm using dowsing rods because it's very subtle, right? You can just kind of twitch your hand and they can move all the different ways. So I was trying to walk opposite from where the rods were pointing me just to see. And sure enough, the rods stayed on the path, did not stray, even as I walked further away from the path, stayed right there. From the complete opposite of the cemetery, I walked across the whole way. And then I started to feel in my heart, like, you're getting close. And I felt that, feeling it now as I'm talking about it, this huge expansion. I looked to where my dowsing rods were pointing, and it was pointing right to her grave. I still, you know, as you can hear me as I talk about it, I'm still amazed at just the connection with spirit. And you might recognize too, like the more that you talk about your loved ones, you can feel them near you. Like I can feel Chris right next to me. And it can be scary, right? It can be scary to open yourself up again to the love that you have for that person, to feel their love for you in such a different, profound way. Because the thing with spirits who have done their work and have evolved is that they see you. They accept all of you. And they still love you and want to support you. So that's another reason why it can be nice to give yourself space, because you don't know what's going to come up emotionally. It can be nice to just be quiet with yourself and with your loved one. And remember too that depending on your childhood, depending on the religion, if you have connected with a religion, the messaging that we receive in this world, it tells us that our intuition is crazy. It tells us that connecting with spirits is bad or evil. And we're told to fear that. You can let that fear go. It does not serve you where you are now. You're meant to grow, and you're meant to connect with yourself and with spirit. So stay tuned for more videos on how to connect. I do have some meditation videos. Meditation, as I've said, is a fantastic way to strengthen your focus so that you can become aware of when your intuition is coming in. But play around. This is meant to be fun. It's meant to be creative, right? So if you're starting to take yourself super seriously, take a step back, take a few breaths. You're where you're meant to, you're where you're meant to be. You're loved and supported throughout it all. So just trust that wherever you are is perfect. So thank you for joining me. Thank you for sitting with me as I share about my own experiences. And stay tuned.